Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I want to talk about the build that I've been using for the start of this season on the Warlock. I have been running sort of a demon form Terror Swarm setup, and yeah, I just wanted to sort of debrief the first, well, 24 hours at this point more or less, and talk about how the build has been performing and, well, teach you how to set it up if you want to run something similar. So the overall idea of the build is that you pop Terror Swarm, and then everything you run into simply just dies. As you can see, I'm critting for a few millions. However, the damage is very much reliant on the Sigil of Chaos in combination with the Nameless Talisman set. Now, these talisman sets are pretty ridiculous. As you can see here, I get a 200% damage multiplier and another one in the 5 set as well. So keep an eye out for the sets. The same goes for something like the Abaddon's Flesh set. This also gives insane damage numbers, and for this build you can also run this Abaddon's set instead. However, I just find that the ramp up is a bit annoying in content, whereas the Nameless set just gives me that damage straight up. So, first of all, let's talk about the skills, and then I'll go through the Paragons, and then I'll talk about gear at the end. So, first of all, I have Command Fallen. The only reason I'm running this skill, more or less, is because it allows me to generate a tiny bit of dominance. Now, what you need to understand about this build, actually, before we get into the skills, is the Soul Shard. So I've got the Vanguard Soul Shard, but I'm not using the Demon Horse because, well, it's annoying. However, we do need the Warden Fragment because, as you can see here, it drains 0.4 dominance per second and increases the extends the duration of our Hellfire Demonology summons, which of course Terror Swarm is. What that means is when I'm in demon form, dominance will drain out and it'll extend the duration of the Terror Swarm itself. So you can have it up pretty much constantly. Occasionally I will run out of dominance, also because of the gloves that I'm running. I'll get into that later. But yeah, first the skills. So again, Command Fallen, because it allows me here to generate a bit of extra dominance. Also with the Meat Shield, it just spawns these Fallen every now and then, and they'll run out and die. But again, that helps proc the dominance generation here, which really helps in sort of longer runs. So definitely the best basic skill. Also, if you're using an aspect like the one that gives you damage reduction when you use a basic ability, you can just spam Command Fallen as much as you want. Second, we have Blazing Scream with the Orbital Scream. The primary reason for this is because it extends the duration of Demon Form, and we want to keep up pretty much 100% uptime on Demon Form, and we're not running Metamorphosis. Then we have Another Step. I'm taking this just for the damage reduction bonus and for the movement speed, and again, it's a super nice, pretty short cooldown, 7 seconds. That lets me dash around and it makes the build a lot quicker. Now, I haven't taken any of the keystones or whatever these are called, simply because I find them annoying and there's no need for them. I just want a dash. Then we have Tyrant's Grasp. The primary reason we're running Tyrant's Grasp is because, as you can see here, it gives us demon form and pulls enemies towards us. Of course, it's nice. We need enemies close to actually damage them with our Terror Swarm. So Dominance Grasp is really nice for that, and in addition, it just gives us demon form, which allows us to stay a demon for ages. For the lesser demons here, this just makes our lesser demon skills slow, which is kind of nice because then we can start using something like crowd control damage buffs as well, and then knockdown just so we can stun bosses pretty reliably. Then we have the Sigil of Chaos. Now, the Sigil is incredibly important because what this allows us to do is, first of all, cast a Sigil skill. And again, if we look at the talismans, our Talisman of the Nameless set bonus here gives us damage or starts a ritual whenever we cast a Sigil, and enemies within the Sigils take increased damage. Now, what's so nice about Sigil of Chaos is with the Hellfire aura, it's an aura around us, and again, Terror Swarm is a pretty small AoE around us, so everything close to us will just take 200% extra damage by being in one of our sigils, and now the sigil actually follows us around. Also, Sigil of Chaos just allows us to proc the Nameless set that I showed before. So, sort of this skill in combination with the Talisman set is just really nice, it just works well together. Then, of course, we have Terror Swarm with the Searing Infestation rune down here. Or it's not a rune, I don't know what you call it, the upgrade. Anyways, Searing Infestation just makes it so that it's a Hellfire skill and it follows us around and deals a crap ton of damage. Then we have extra bites. Terror Swarm now bites up to 2 additional times per second. Just gives us more damage. Wonderful. And then here, Lesser Demons. Terror Swarm kills 2 Lesser Demons every second. Which is just, yeah, well, it allows us to proc our sigils. Again, with the Nameless set, when we cast Sigil of Chaos, it actually casts both of the other sigils as well. So there is also an argument to be made to actually go in and grab some of these perk points here. I just haven't been bothered yet. Of course, I'm still testing things out. I just sort of had this idea, and then I've been trying to make this build work since season launch, more or less. So yeah, that is the skills. Now, Paragon. Again, not super optimized. I'm only 155 Paragon at this point, but that's enough to get all 5 boards and a few of the yellows as well. First glyph we have is Wrath, crit damage, standard stuff. Pretty much every build runs this. Again, we're stacking willpower within range, and as you can see, I'm still missing a lot of willpower around in this part of the tree, so we can get a lot more damage on Wrath. Second, we have Demonologist. Just gives us demonology damage. Again, will pretty much always be in demon form. However, as you can see at the bottom here, you gain 17% increased damage while you have a greater demon summoned. And, well, as you can see down here, our Terror Swarm is a greater demon, so that works very nicely together. We also run up here and grab Fathomless. Each demon you've summoned in the last 6 seconds increases your damage done by 15% up to 105. Now, when we look at Terror Swarm, this one down here, Terror Swarm spawns and instantly kills 3 lesser demons every second. That actually counts towards this legendary glyph here, Fathomless, so it just allows us to have 105% increased damage pretty much all of the time. To the left, we grab Ritualism. You gain 90% increased damage for 15 seconds after casting sigil skills. Again, we are using the sigil of, I forget the name, Chaos, I believe. Sigil of Chaos, yes. We're spamming that pretty much on cooldown, so we'll have this bonus up more or less all of the time. Over here on the right hand side, Demonic Spicules, I'm not sure what that word is, damaging enemies with demonology skills, shred their souls, permanently increasing all damage you deal to them by 40%, up to 120. Again, Terror Swarm demonology skill, it's damaging 3 times a second, so we'll have this stacked to the max pretty much instantly. It's just really good for the build. And finally, Pyrosis, Hellfire skills deal 450% increased damage to healthy enemies. Now, that just means the first time we hit people with Terror Swarm, or not people, mobs, the first time we hit mobs with Terror Swarm, they're just going to take almost 500% more damage, which is pretty good, especially for speed farming content. You can just run straight through packs and they'll be completely decimated. Now, I did also want to make a second point, but I'm not sure if I saved it. I have a Fist of Fate glyph somewhere, which turned out to be incredibly powerful when I was running it in the early game. If I can actually find it, here we have Fist of Fate. So I'm still missing a seal that'll give me 6 slots, but for the 6th slot I'll be putting in Fist of Fate, because that means we have a chance to either deal absolutely negligible damage, which is absolutely fine, or we can deal 280% increased damage, and, well, on top of the Pyrosis, this just means that our first hits against mobs can be absolutely huge. Now, talking about gear, I'm currently wearing a Harlequin's Crest that I just randomly found, and a Tyrael's Might. I actually find Tyrael's Might to be quite nice for the 20% damage reduction flat up. Most damage reduction aspects give about the same, but if you have a really good chest plate with multiple GAs or something, you can easily run those as well. However, keep in mind the resistance to all elements on Tyrael's Might is incredibly nice, but this is not required for the build. It's just because I had it lying around. The same goes for Harlequin's Quest. It's really nice, but you don't actually need it. For the gloves, I'm using Thrice Woven Nightmare just because it allows Terror Swarm to gain the Devouring Swarm perk. Now, if we have a look down here, Devouring Swarm, it just spawns additional swarms that'll sort of run around the arena. And on bosses, this is really nice because that means we can essentially have 4 Terror Swarms with these 3 plus the one that's around us. And that just really ramps up the damage on single target. Continuing with the gear, for the pants, Demonology form, I'm using the Diabolical Armor aspect. Just gives me damage reduction. Again, I'm just stacking defensive stats. I ideally wouldn't want healing received, rather something else. Barrier generation, skill ranks, and one of the skills we're using, whatever. For boots, again, pretty basic. I'm just using move speed boots. I want to go fast. The wrath regeneration is not important at all in this build and is a dead stat on these boots. I just don't have anything better. We won't really be using wrath at all. At the moment, it's mostly in dominance. I am considering changing the build quite a bit and incorporating anathema of the primes, but I'm not quite sure how to make this work yet. So I'm going to look into that and then maybe come with an update later. Continuing on, I was looking into gear, yes. For the weapon, I just have a random flail, and apparently I have the same aspect twice, which is a mistake, so I'm missing a lot of damage there. Offhand, again, as you can probably see, I'm stacking cooldown reduction and crit chance everywhere because it's quite difficult to get a lot of crit chance now. Ideally, I think Air of Predation is probably better than Harlequin's Quest. It will get us to about 100% crit chance, which will increase the damage of the build by a lot. Again, aspects, you deal increased damage with your summons. For aspects in this new version of Diablo, since the update, you basically just want the biggest multipliers that apply to your build. So Terror Swarm, of course, it is a summon, as you can see on the tag up there, which is why I am using this on the offhand. For the necklace, I am using Demonic Call, or Demonic All-Being Chain, which just gives damage to my demonology skills whenever they hit, and again, it hits 3 times a second, so this procs absolutely instantly. One ring here, killing at least 30 enemies, or, quite importantly, demons, within 10 seconds, increases your damage by 50%. Now, again, Terror Swarm is killing 3 lesser demons each second, so you'll have this up permanently at 50%, pretty much. So it's a really good aspect for the build. And finally, skills deal increased damage based on your primary available resource. Again, I have made a mistake with my weapon here. I was running... I forget the name. I was running with the Eldrin Sword, or Indion, as it basically is. I was running with this for a while just to test it out, and that's probably why this aspect's wrong, because I changed my amulet since. Yeah, so that's it for the gear. Again, the most important aspects here are the aspects on the boots here. The duration of any volatility or demon form you gain is increased by up to 200%. And when we use Sigil of Chaos, we gain volatility, and then when we gain demon form, that just lasts a lot longer. Then we use our Blazing Scream to increase demon form. As you can see, I'm just standing still and still in demon form, and it will drain my dominance to keep this Blazing Scream alive, and then I can just use my Terror Swarm to deal a boat ton of damage. And when I put down this Sigil of Chaos, you'll see the numbers just absolutely skyrocket, and that's how the build works. Now, for bosses, the big damage increase comes when Terror Swarm goes off cooldown again, because that means I can have several of them. And now you can see the hits are just flying in, and this melts most content in Torment 9 at the moment. I've done all the Uber bosses on Torment 9, and as I said, I'm ready to move up to Torment 10. So yeah, that was just a brief overview. I hope this maybe inspired you, gave you some ideas. If you want to try something similar, I will make a Diablo 4 build planner guide for this at some point when I have time. Problem is I've got work now, so I have to go. Anyways, I hope you have a good season. Take care. Ciao.